Alright, hello to all my guys, gals, and non-binary pals out there across the electrical ocean. This is Jazzman back with another game. This time we've got Bearamie1 playing a split between Shattered Peaks and Underdepths. And then over here we've got barney2000 playing full faction Iron Fist Stronghold. And this is already shaping up to be a really wacky game. So Bearamie went first and deployed Deep Cave Extractor, a lumbering champion, something you probably don't want to have as a first turn deploy, to grab this font. I mean, it's a Nora miner, so, you know, you can get some Nora going. But strangely, they did not have enough Nora for a second deploy, and even as half Shattered Peaks, I think deploying a 43 Nora champion and not having just something to follow up is a little odd. But yeah, and then they deployed a Deep Elf Assassin at the Shrine, which makes me think they're going to either rush here or over here. It's definitely an awkward, maybe not awkward, but unconventional opening here from Bearamie. And then, of course, deploying Corona to get the font. I think this should be fine, in all honesty. Like, Diviner can get to the font at the same time as the Corona will. And, I mean, Warstaff is going over here to intercept the Assassin. That is definitely not an enviable job on the part of Warstaff. I mean, he's just going to get shanked and then dead. He's 55 Nora. I mean, it's no terrible loss, but, I mean, I wouldn't want to sacrifice the champ just for that. I think the fact that Assassin was deployed over here is a bit strange, because it's going to take so long for it to do anything on this part of the map. I feel like Barney would have done just fine having his Warstaff move this way with the rest of his forces. Because it's like Assassins are going to take at least 3 rounds to get down over here and threaten these fonts. So, I mean, just ignoring it for now seems like the safer option, especially as Iron Fist. Like, you can run Unobstructed View at the lower elos, even somewhat kind of at the higher elos. Unobstructed View is a great anti-stealth option. Guard Tower is usually seen much more often. Barbarian Huntress with the Detection Boar gets a fair amount of play as well, still. So, I mean, you have a lot of ways to deal with stealth as Iron Fist. But for now, Corona is gonna menacingly threaten that font. If I were Barney, I would probably prefer something melee here, because, I mean, you never know. Like, with this kind of a split, I wouldn't be surprised to see a super champ build on that Corona from Bearamie, like Demon Shield, or something of the sort to protect from range. And yeah, so definitely something that can maybe like stall in melee versus Corona. But there was a rock trap here going off. I have no idea what that rock trap was supposed to do for Bearamie. I mean, it knocked back the Warstaff, so we can assume that the Assassin is somewhere around here, since the trap was deployed. And I mean, now the Cross Priestess has backup. It's going to be I mean, Deep Elf Assassin has her pick of the litter when it comes to targets. So, I mean, the rock trap, I guess, stalled Barney's advance, and then a sapping beam onto the Corona for this turn. But yep, there goes the Northern Cross Priestess, and that should be a globe. I mean, I wouldn't, if I were Bearamie, I wouldn't be too afraid of any rebuke from the Warstaff. But well, he's moving. He doesn't want to move on to the. Okay, so this is a little confusing. I think if you're going to move in for a hit, you might as well just move on to the globe. What the fuck was that vertical push, my man? Okay, so that just makes it that's triple confusing for why. I mean, I know okay, so he had Cloak of Long Knives, right? So he wanted the Shadow Strike proc, but Deep Elf Assassin has stealth anyway, so you don't really need the. This is just confusing on so many levels. Like, he could have gotten the globe and then attacked, and then done the vertical push anyway, and then backed out and just waited for the stealth. Like, you're in no hurry. Like, you took out one of Barney's champs. You should be fine in this position to just grab the globe and chill while stealth comes back up. And, you know, as I was going to say, Warstaff alone can't kill Deep Elf Assassin. Maybe he was worried about Hammer Strike, or something like that, just, you know, to stall. But, yeah, Deep Elf Assassin did get that kill at least. But 55 Nora spell on a 55 Nora champ is not advisable. And Corona, of course, getting the sapping beam is just going to be sitting there, just lazing around with not much to do. I'd probably... I'd very much favor Barney's position here on the map. He's got 3 fonts to 2. Bearamie kind of wasted that vertical push on nothing. The Handor Memorial was a bit was a bit unnecessary, I would say, but it does provide the anti-stealth for the moment. Assassinate does have a cooldown, of course, so you can't just, shank whatever comes out next. And as far as rune choices are concerned, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. We've got Iron Fist Collector here from Barney, who's honestly, to this day, he's a pretty damn good support champ for IS, and like for dwarves. Like, he has anti-equip, he has relic, anti-relic, he can stealth for harassment purposes, and he's really cheap. And, if you run him in dwarves, you can put a brew on him, and he gets respectable stats for that price. So I think, I don't know, I'd probably consider him in a just a budget dwarf deck, maybe. It feels weird to say a budget deck at this point in the game, because you don't really need to budget for anything, since runes are all basically free. But Corona here going to get a Zealotry piled on her, and yeah, this is pretty much what I expected. I'm assuming there's going to be like a Havoc's Touch, a Demon Shield thrown down on her, and let's see what else can SP do. Not Magnified Beast, because the Corona is not a beast, but she's going to get a couple hits onto Squire here. And unfortunately, she is 2 HP short of a kill, so no healing from Life Drink. But I mean, Diviner, like, the problem for Barney right now is that he just doesn't have enough damage to get through Corona. And at these elos, I mean, Super Champ decks are a lot more playable, just because your opponents won't generally know what to do against one big beefy boy like this, beefy girl in Corona's case. But I mean, like, Deep Elf Assassin is usually scary for even good players sometimes. But then, Attendant Squire. I think there was a red sand earlier on Attendant Squire. So another strange move by Bearamie. I wouldn't think. So here's the advice from the master I would give. Now, look at me hyping myself up. But throwing around spells when you're not investing that Nora into a kill is generally a bad idea. So in the case of Bearamie, they've used 3 spells thus far: Zealotry, Vertical Push, and Red Sand, to not really accomplish anything. Elemental Warstaff is still alive, Attendant Squire still alive, even though on 2 HP and is going to die to the Red Sand. Only after, taking a pummeling from Corona. But in general, like, especially if you're Shattered Peaks, you really want to focus your early game on deploys. Just getting champions into play, getting those guys on the board, and not wasting too much of your Nora on spells that don't really do anything for you. So the Vertical Push, I mean, it got Warstaff out of play, didn't really kill him, he's still there, he can do stuff. Low HP champions do just as much work as full HP ones. And see here, a good use of Earthshaker actually by Barney to detect that Deep Elf Assassin, knowing exactly where she was because she stealthed with 0 AP left. So yeah, Collector just moving up, shattering that cloak of Long Knives, and then pretty much getting Deep Elf Assassin out in the open here. And I guess, I mean, like, if I were Bearamie, I would... Oh my god, that's a second Vertical Push onto the same Elemental Warstaff. My man, my guy, you... that you couldn't be more inefficient if you tried. I gotta say, I'm very impressed by how inefficient you're being right now with your Nora. But he puts a Scythe of Gore onto the Deep Elf Assassin, so another, again, trying to get that Shadow Strike and play around stealth. But I mean, like, as crazy as it is, it's working, just because, these guys, neither of them are all the, or they're not all that. They're not the best players in the game by a long way. But, Barney on 3 fonts, and in any other player's position, he'd probably be winning this pretty hard. He did good finding the assassin. It's just a matter of capitalizing on it. See, in that case, I could have maybe justified like a hammer strike, because the assassin does have vulnerability physical. And, I mean, with Collector there and potentially Warstaff as well, it probably would have led to a kill at some point. But see, this is why. So when you're running, I guess Barney is going to come out of this game thinking, man, I need shielded on my Warstaffs instead of spell resistance as the upgrade. And honestly, I would concur with such an analysis, because I feel like if you're running Iron Fist, like, you're going to take less damage from spells anyway. So any champ that can take spell resistance is probably going to want to take one of the other upgrades instead, since 6, like most AoEs and spell damage from spells is like, it usually caps out at like 10 to 12, right? And if you're reducing 6 of that already, adding spell resistance on top of that, it's just superfluous at that point. So, but Shielded on the other hand, Shielded is very nice because not all single target spells do damage. Some of them are CC, some of them are, like vertical push that get your champion out of play for a while. So I would definitely favor Shielded over spell resistance on Warstaff. I mean, and here, like with that ball and chain on the Diviner, I do feel like Corona will kind of just rip through everything that Barney has right now. As a matter of fact, he doesn't have any other champions in play. He's got 3 fonts. I'm wondering where his Nora is going. Because even though deploying Earthshaker and shit, he should have some Nora, right? Like, he should have enough for deploy. He's running down the clock. I have no idea what he's thinking. He's thinking very hard about this turn. Oh, please don't be DC'd. Am I the one who's... I'm not the one who's DC'd, right? No? Okay, I'm still here. So Barney is going to run out his turn, and I mean, Bearamie is just going to say, thank you very much for the free turn. I would also like to say, I think Deep Cave Extractor just sitting there being a Nora gen engine, I'm not really a fan of that. Like even something like a Deep Miner, or a Scorched Dwarf. On this map, it's a little bit tricky because I mean the fonts are so safe, like positioned behind the shrine and stuff. But I would probably like to see that Deep Cave Extractor sort of maybe positioning towards these fonts rather than just sitting back at this one and relying on, Nora Miner to get your use out of him. Like, I even just running it forward to threaten the contest, like, despite being a lumbering champion, it's still a champion, right? It can still contest a font. So you might as well get as much use out of it as you can, draw some of Barney's resources away. But Bearamie here going to make full use of that lost turn and take down the Collector. So it's basically just Bearamie deploying 2 champions versus Barney's 1 right now. If he comes back, like he's going to come back to what, 150 Nora-ish on his turn, probably closer to 200. So I mean, he could still come back in this game. It's just a matter of actually coming back. He's not actually DC'd, like based on the this over here. And, oh, well, there goes the Warstaff. Oh, he has Gift of Scrying. Wait a minute. He's on 1... Oh, my... I have spell resistance bonus. He's on 1 HP from after taking 2 vertical pushes, and he's gonna... Okay, well, I wouldn't have moved him up like this to get that globe. I would have probably kept him back. So, like, keeping him back within the Handor Memorial range would have been best. Because at least that way you de-stealth the assassin as it comes in. Okay, so Barney is back. He's gonna try to Bane Blast the assassin for, I'm assuming, the detection. Does he have another spell that, like a Hammer Strike? See, here Hammer Strike would be nice. Divine Dispersal. That is not something I would have expected. So all the relics and equipment go back to the Rune Dock. That's actually, you know what? If I had a nickel for every time Divine Dispersal was played in my recordings this past week, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. So down come the relics again, since they do have 0 cooldown when returned with Divine Dispersal. And I mean, it smashes the assassin back again. That's not really going to accomplish anything though, because I'm assuming Cloak of Long... Like, I feel like Bearamie is the type to run a second Cloak of Long Knives here. So maybe, like, if that comes down on Assassin again, maybe see it stealth again somehow and then just shadow shift away. But even if not, like, she can still get to the Warstaff. I definitely would have positioned that Earthshaker, like, right here to block the Assassin from getting in, because then she'd be lumbering and then she'd have to eat through the relics first. I mean, now, at this point, like, I would have done everything I could to save this Warstaff. This Warstaff has been the most efficient champion I've seen deployed in quite many games. But Barbarian Diviner, taking advantage of the loss of lumbering, decides to boldly contest that font. And I don't love this play. I know it takes away the font for a time, but I mean, 0 defense, 27 HP. That Corona is going to 2-shot the Diviner. a better play from Bearamie. Like, if I were Bearamie, I'd just say, you know what? You want your champion my font? Fine. I'm gonna... Like, he's invested a lot into this Corona, right? I would just get Thirst for Battle stacks off this Diviner, because it could never hit Corona, like, with 5 minimum range. And I know you're gonna have Bastion barreling down on you now. So I would just, like, get as many Thirst for Battle stacks as I can, and then hope that it's enough to deal with Bastion, right? So Corona getting very scary now. Deep Elf Assassin choosing not to kill the War Staff. Very bizarre here by Bearamie. You've spent 110 Nora to kill this War Staff. You gotta finish it off at that point. And, funny enough, Immunity Fire... Immunity Fire, very useful versus the deployed Fire Ruby here. I'm assuming Bearamie is not the type to check upgrades, because usually War Staff is run with Immunity Magical. So man, this is like the quintessential low elo game we've got going on right here, and I just love it. I love watching games that are just wild and like Wild West wacky like this. Like it's such a joy to watch these guys go. But they're just out here living their best lives, and me, I'm sitting here like, you best start believing in low elo games, son. You're in one. Ba-da-dum bum ba-da-dum bum ba-da-dum bum ba-da-da-dum ba-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-da-dum bum ba-da-dum. Okay, so we got the retreat from Barbarian Diviner. Probably a good play, just leaving that secluded shrine to contest. And of course, eroding winds, everyone's least liked Iron Fist spell for a long time now, and another red sand onto... Where's that going down? Okay, I was gonna be so sad if Bearamie cast that onto the War Staff to kill it, but he kept an eye out for the Fire Ruby. I mean, I'm assuming he didn't know about Immunity Fire. Otherwise, like, come on, I know you're down in what is this, Common League, but you should know that Fire Ruby does not work on an Immunity Fire champ. But Blood Bow finally cleaning up that kill. And, oh yeah, Barney... Okay, well, I was going to say something about the relic on the globe, but Barney inexplicably surrenders, and Bearamie takes the win. That game was a trip, I gotta say. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.